The Magic market is ever changing, and some staple cards for Commander and modern formats are finally starting to turn. It's best to pay attention to these and get them while you can. So many people just don't pay attention. Welcome back, everyone. MTG Moxman here, and thanks a lot for hanging out with me on the channel today. Big shout out to all the new viewers joining the channel, all my regular viewers as well, patrons and YouTube membership members. Thanks again, guys, for that support. And if you're new to the channel, think about hitting that subscribe button, and thanks again. So when you look at the market of Magic, cards are changing hands all the time. Sales are happening here, LGS, trade groups go on. But there are so many cards to follow that people tend to forget that some of the cards that may have been cheap have started to go up in value. There's lots of YouTubers who cover different aspects of this. I like to stick to some tried and true methods. I look at the mana base. When you take a look at fetch lands, remember Arid Mesa being down to like $15 Canadian? You can find this thing less than 20 bucks. Have you been watching fetch lands lately? Have you been taking a look? The market is finally starting to absorb these cards. They're being built into decks, stores of hoarded copies. It's happening. There are other cards in the video today. I want to go over these with you, explain what I think is happening with the market, and how best to deal with this situation as it continues. So guys, let's have some fun and let's take a look at some amazing cards that you should be watching. Our first card is the Chain Veil from M15 with a market price of $26.80 US, €12.94 to get this card into your house overseas, and a foil price of a respectable, basically $60 US. Here in Canada, the card goes for around $35 to $40 Canadian depending on the condition. Now when you take a look at the Chain Veil and look at it closely and think about upcoming sets in which this card may be played. It's a 4 casting cost generic, so there's no color involved, which is fantastic. It is mythic, which is nice. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't activate a loyalty ability of a planeswalker this turn, you lose 2 life. I don't really care about that. Go on to the second part, which is 4 and tap. For each planeswalker you control, you may activate one of its loyalty abilities once this turn, as though none of its loyalty abilities have been activated. Think about Urza in the upcoming Brothers War set and look at the playability of the Chain Veil on cards like that. There will be players seeking out the Chain Veil to try to break it and use it in this new way, making Urza that much more deadly, as well as any other planeswalkers who might be coming up in the new set. People forget that old cards can get broken by newer things coming in. It isn't just for Liliana, of course. Now the next card I want to share with you is Bakugou Who Endures Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. For a long time I thought this card was going to get the Banhammer, but apparently it's not that lucky. The average price is $29 US. A foil is only $31, which is meh to me. But it's €32.78 to get this card into your house. Here in Canada it's around $33 Canadian. Now Bakugou is a very effective card. Cards like this are why I believe Tolarian Academy should no longer be banned. It has the channel ability of 1 green, 1 other, and discard Bakugou Who Endures, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or non-basic land an opponent controls, making it an amazing card to use in a deck. It also can tap for mana, which is awesome if you need it that way. So this card is starting to trend upward. Kamigawa Neon Dynasty sales have basically ceased at almost every local level, which means the stock that's out there is all there's going to be as money continues to move on quickly to newer products that Wizards of the Coast is putting out there. This card will trend higher as more people seek it out and add it to deck construction. More 5-color decks means more cards like this, Otawara, and the Seat of the Empire. Those kind of cards from Kamigawa are going to have a long lifespan, and their values will rise as players don't like to change these kind of lands out between decks. Expect it to go up, and if you don't have a copy, I would buy one now. If you're lucky enough to have one, I wouldn't sell it. Now the Displacer Kitten. This card has a market price of $7.95 US. The foil is about $9.43 US. And of course, €11.26 to get this card into your house. And here in Canada, you're looking at around the $12 mark. This card has avoidance. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, exile up to one target non-land permanent you control, and then return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control, offense and defense. This is one of the fairly decent cards from Commander Legends Battle for Baldur's Gate. And again, it's a set that is not being opened right now. It's not coming around. People don't care. It's a dead set, which means the Displacer Kitten, who has had this nice slow fall down in price from the highs of 25 to 30 bucks, is now at a bargain basement price of around $10 Canadian. Guys, this is a card you probably want to pick one up of, at least for one commander deck. If you're lucky enough to have some spare funds, buy a playset of 4, just so you don't have to worry about it in the future. Cards like this probably are not going to come around for a number of years, which means if this card finds uses in future decks, the price will rise significantly, and it'll be to your advantage to buy it now before that price goes up. Our next card is Arid Mesa from Zendikar, but this goes for any of the fetch lands. This card, if you look at the bottom level there, was around $17 US, $16 and change US, and it's just starting to go up. And the sales are starting to increase across the board on fetch lands. More in-store play, more events happening, and the number of formats in which fetch lands are used are starting to cause a slow but upward trend on the sales. The pressure on sales will make the prices go up. A lot of stores I know hoarded these cards and did not put them back on the shelf. They just said they were sold out because they were waiting for the market to turn on the card so they could reap the benefits of when the card starts to go up. But they took full advantage of buying those cards off the secondary market when they were at the bottom, that bottom basement price. So pay attention to this stuff. The price is going to turn. Don't sell your cards into the market right now. Let the price go up and then take advantage if you have extras to sell. But at the same time, if you think you're ever building a deck that needs those colors, it is always best not to sell your fetch lands. I think Wizards is going to give them a bit of a break. I think we might see the fetch lands come out later this year in one of the specialty sets, but I'm not sure yet. I want to see what Wizards does, and I'm sure most of you guys do as well. It's just one of those cards you're like, they need to reprint it fairly frequently, but they need this set to gain value. They need those fetch lands to go up in value to make it a key marquee target card to get when you open a box. So for all I know, it's not going to come around this year. Now our next card is Twincast. Definitely not an expensive card. A lot of people call it a copy of Fork. It's only around $7 US, around $9 in Canada. But when you take a look at this card, I just want people to realize that it's a very effective card for countering spells, for doubling up on spells, because a lot of people are building these doubling decks right now, and this one has not been hit up by a lot of players. Copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. Doesn't say who's you're copying, right? So in a commander game, it's a great card to have around. It's a good, fun, old-fashioned, I've used it lots of times, so I can see getting a playset of 4 for like 30 bucks is very inexpensive. And if this card ever hits it big again and goes up in value, it's something to think about. You never know where your values are going to come from, even when you want to trade things in later. Now our next card is Steam Vents. Now the shock lands have all gone up in price. They used to be like $10. I remember buying, Overgrown Tomb and stuff for like $8 when I was outfitting some decks earlier a few years ago. And look at the prices now. Ever since 2018, they've just slowly been etching their way up, and they haven't been reprinted. And I don't really count the ones that we've seen from Unfinity because it'll be a very limited product that won't have a lot of market impact, and the specialty lands aren't really going to be shared out by the public. Whoever opens them is going to hold on to them for the most part. Stores aren't really getting a lot of these turned in yet. So watching and paying attention to what's going to happen with all the original versions and all the versions they've done since then, those prices will probably stay high unless Wizards gets us back to Ravnica or finds a way to reprint the Shocklands into another set, because Unfinity is not going to, it's not going to quench the price. It's not going to bring things down to a level that'll be acceptable. Expect some of these cards to actually hit into the late 20s, early $30 bill mark. It's just going to happen. Now, this is an interesting one, which is Mistress Factory from Antiquities. A lot of the factory cards have had high sales lately. The prices are dipping down slowly, but the sales are picking up on a lot of these cards. And I mean the original versions in this case. They're not reserve list. They are available, but they do cost a lot of money. And it doesn't seem to really matter which version you're going for. People are out to get them. And I'm assuming that's all following up on the Brothers War. Now there's like the 4 seasons for these. There's spring, fall, winter, and summer versions. And this, of course, being the most expensive is what I'm showing you guys on the screen. Brothers War has brought that whole nostalgic factor back for a lot of players. And since these aren't reserve list, you can almost expect some people to actually put them into deck play just to have some fun in standard. I can just see people doing it. It'll be crazy. I have a friend who can't wait to build with Brothers War, but put old cards that they've redone. I don't know. We'll see what he does with it. We'll see what you guys do with cards like this, because the value is going to be there. Now our next card is Indomitable Creativity. Now this is another Aether Revolt card that's had a real spike lately as players are finding new ways of using cards. This card goes for $29 US. Here in Canada it's $35 Canadian, and it's €16.17 to get this card into your house. When you take a look at it though, 3 red plus X. Destroy X target artifact and or creatures. For each permanent destroyed this way, its controller reveals the top card of his or her library until an artifact or creature card is revealed and exiles that card. Those players put the exiled cards onto the battlefield and shuffle their libraries. That is pretty crazy to think about all the ways now of getting clues and treasure tokens, and the dragons from Baldur's Gate who put out the treasures. Guys, cards like this are finding new homes because of what Wizards has done with the newer sets. This is a game-ending card if used in the right combination, and I can see why it's spiking and why people are showing a real interest in it. But also, interest wanes. This price could fall back down if it doesn't find itself in a real competitive deck that does well at a tournament. So don't bet on this too much. Wait and see how cards like this turn out. But if you have a copy, hey, good for you. Kudos. All right. Our next card is going to be the Meathook Massacre. I know. The poor Banhammer came down on this card and smashed it into oblivion. I didn't cover the bannings that came out. People asked me a little bit about that, and I said, it's just such small stuff. Wizards are just being petty in my eye. So the Meathook Massacre, to me, this is them trying to bring the price down. This card was not opened a lot. The product didn't do well, but this card is being used by a lot of players. I see it almost in any black deck on Arena. And now that price every day has been going down. And you're going to see it fall another 30 to 40%. It can still be played in Commander. It still will find a home. But guys, it's just one of those things Wizards likes to do to mess things up. And they will put it into a specialty product later on. Okay? They will. Because they like that this card has value. They like that this card can be used in other formats still. So it's not really going to affect them because this is rotating out before they know it. So it's just ridiculous. Our next card though, yeah, here we are. The big one. Unfinity Lands, okay? I'm going to just show the big one here. All the Unfinity Lands. Here's Steam Vents again, which I chose specifically because I used the other one from Ravnica. When you take a look at this card and look at the values, $200 plus. I gotta be honest, guys. It's a ripoff. I don't like that pricing. I don't think they should be that rare, and I don't think they're that special. To me, it seems like forced scarcity, and I don't usually buy into that stuff very often. They are beautiful, though. Like, I want a playset so bad. I will probably wait and hope they go down in price as more of the product gets opened or people lose interest and the prices gradually fall. But this card, I can buy it for $30. Am I really willing to pay 4 or 5 times the value to get a special version of it? Some players will. They'll say, yes, I want to be unique. I want to be special. I want to stand out. In my case, I just need them to play with. So I will go for the cheapest copies I can find in the best condition I can find. And I won't buy into things like this. They don't grab me enough. I would rather buy high-end reserve list cards from Arabian Nights than jump in on something like this. I'd rather get a dual land, like a beat-up Savannah, than buy that land. It's just a shock land with a fancy picture on it. It's not a Savannah. It's not a scrub land. It's not a Badlands. So as cool as that shock land may be, it doesn't deserve the same price point as a dual land. And I think those prices will fall, or eventually dual lands will go even higher. The artwork is amazing, but does it warrant that price tag attached to it? It's not original art. Somebody else owns that somewhere out there. The artist, or it's been sold to somebody. That's the original art. This is just a print on a card made hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. To me, it doesn't hold water. Thanks a lot for tuning in, guys. Thanks for being here on the channel. Can't wait to see your comments in the comment section. And of course, I'll see you tomorrow for another video. And a big shout out goes out to all the fantastic patrons on this channel who support me each and every day, all my YouTube membership members, and the regular viewers as well. Thanks again. I sat there with some friends. And, oh wait, hold on. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks to being to the end credits. I hope you cleaned up the popcorn, made sure your room is clean, folded your socks neatly, and of course, you know, you cleaned up after yourself, generally speaking. All right. You better. I'm watching. Come on, guys. You know I'm watching. Top 3%. Come on, earn it. I don't know what I'm thinking. Would you rather get that Shockland, beautiful, or get an Elephant Graveyard? Get 3 Volross Stronghold, 2 or 3 Tolarian Academies, a Serra Sanctum. Do you see where I'm going with this? It's insanity. It just doesn't hold the same when you can get regular Shock. It's just a print to me. That's how I look. It's a beautiful print, but it's just a print. I'd rather use some artist out there and pay them a few bucks to do something unique on a card then. Drives me insane. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out. I'd rather get the Elephant Graveyard.